Today's episode is sponsored by Billy Keel's Advisory Services. If you want to learn more about how to make your 99 optional, just go to makeitoptional.com. Once again, that's makeitoptional.com.
Helping you build freedom without losing your edge. This is the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels.
One of the main reasons that I love doing this podcast is because I get to sit down with some of the most influential and impactful ex-corporate or current corporate. Today, you'll find out where today's guest sits, because you know what? Today's guest, she's a proud mom of two and a life partner of her greatest teammate. And she's someone who believes that the magic at work and at home is always built together with authenticity. And you're not even going to believe it if you're watching on the video, but she had an extremely successful, almost 20-year corporate career. And you know what? She's taken that corporate career and today is focused on entrepreneurial business development, as well as being chief growth officer across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. But you know what? Today, she also has a major passion for mentoring upcoming female talent, and she is the advisor to EMEA startup founders. She's also the co-founder of Hanai, which she will pronounce perfectly because I probably didn't. And she is also the partner member of Her Best Club. Gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation, Marie Campagne. Marie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super glad to be here because I'm listening regularly to your podcast, and it's always great to learn from others and to get new perspectives. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited about you being able to share your journey. I also have been able to watch your journey from corporate career, and now as you're in this new space. I don't want to give too much away, everybody, because Marie's going to tell her own story, of course, in her own words. But yeah, this is a really great opportunity. I know so many people are going to get lots out of the conversation. So I actually just want to jump right in because there's something that I'm a big believer in, and I people sometimes they don't really understand it, but I believe that, and I know that every single corporate relationship ends. And at the same time, at the end of every corporate relationship, it's also the beginning of something new. So I'm just curious, can you tell us about what was the end of your corporate relationship, if there was one, and also too, where you're focused today?
I believe there is always things are coming at that time, and I can say that when I was in the corporate world, I was always thinking about building something new, okay? Not following an existing path, but always I love, creating new ones. I have always been trying to untapped market, to building something from scratch, to bring people, together around a shared vision. And that was my happy time, at corporate when I was doing that. And now I believed it was time because also I had the opportunity to go from the company without being put at risk, As you mentioned, I also have a family, so you always have to take calculated risks. And for me, it was the right time to take, that entrepreneurial energy into the startup ecosystem. So hope it's answering your questions, but I really feel, like there was a real link, a real bridge between my corporate life and what I would like to achieve today.
Yeah, well, and you know what? There's something that you just mentioned, and it's because you are already continuing on the path to being able to achieve, to help others to transform. And as you mentioned, it's something that is in the DNA. It's something that knowing about your story, and I'd like for you to expand on a little bit more about the story, and maybe give us some of the different examples of how you've always taken that unique perspective and that entrepreneurial perspective, even within the confines of a corporate role. To be able to have that unique vision and be able to build consensus with others around that specific vision. Could you maybe expand on that a little bit?
So what was super interesting, within a corporation, of course, there is a structure, but there is many areas always of improvement or something new that can be done, And I had the opportunity to identify some of these topics, that could really bring the company, to the next level, or to untap a market that's really really high potential and that we were not focusing on, and to pitch, like this idea to senior executives that were able to say, okay, we bet on your ideas. We put some resources, we put some budget, and let's see what you're going to do with that, And that was really the time I was feeling the happiest in the company, because I was feeling that I was doing something meaningful that was going to have an impact. And on the top, I was embarking other people with me, that have the same passion or vision to do something different. So I always felt in that case, part of a startup within the corporate world, and that was really exciting all the time, to find ways to innovate within the existing path, to think out of the box. And that, of course, was not always easy. Okay. You have a lot of people that you need to convince, that you need to influence. But when you feel the magic is happening, it's really great feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and we're definitely going to come back to these areas where you talk about looking for improvements and being able to. It's really interesting to think about untapped markets, especially when you've been working for market leading companies, right? And I know we can talk more about the types of industries that you have worked in and things like that. But you said something just a few minutes ago that I hope everyone heard. You said that. It's also being able to take calculated risks. So you took a calculated risk. A lot of times people may not even want to take a risk. Talk to us about what that means for you in terms of this decision-making process in taking calculated risks.
It's taking time. I believe, it's something that you feel in your gut, at the beginning, and it's slow. It's like, yes, it's a little voice, inside yourself that is starting to say, okay, something needs to change. The fire that you have inside you, that you want to do something different outside of maybe the easy path or the easier path, let's say. Little by little, the list of voice is getting bigger and bigger, and then it's even affecting how you feel, you can feel like this anxiety, really you feel like, okay, there is something, my body, my head is telling me something, and maybe I need to take care of that, or I need to listen to that. And here starting to calculate, okay, yes, we are a family. What are our needs today? What can we decrease as well in the way we are living? What we are really putting at risk, what we cannot touch, at all, and do some choices as well, And then I believe it's important to take the decision as a family as well. And then, of course, there is circumstance. And in my case, the company I was working for was doing a ongoing restructuring program, So, it came at the right time for me, because I believe I was ready to do this step. And on the top, I was doing it with a more comfortable financial situation, let's say.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that typically when you are well, depending on what type of industry, right? And being in I'll speak for myself, coming from an enterprise software space, this was, you live in a certain type of a bubble. And as you were explaining, it really, you focused a lot on the financial aspects of being able to calculate risks. And this is something that I know that I focused on for a really long time. What other kind of risks would you say, now that you've had some perspective, that you would also suggest to others, that aside from just the financial risk, because this is where we typically think about first, what other types of risks are you now aware of that maybe you weren't at the time that you made your decision?
Honestly, Billy, for me, except of that, I didn't see any risks. All the contrary, I saw the risk of remaining in my comfort zone and remaining in the corporate world. That for me what was a risk at the end. That was becoming a risk. And if I balance, the financial risk with that risk, because really I was thinking, okay, if I stay longer, first my little voice is getting louder and louder, and then I will start feeling maybe disengaged, not motivated as much as I have always been, and having my internal fire getting like lower. So for me, that was a bigger risk, I would say.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective, and one that I don't hear enough people really verbalize to talk about out loud, right? Because you talked about the little voice gets louder and louder, and I'm very familiar with that little voice because it was getting so loud towards the end of my corporate career. It was getting really, really loud. But also the fact that there was a potential for being less engaged or even disengaged, as you mentioned before. Do you feel like there was a particular pressure that either, because I've been thinking about this a lot myself, like when you think about the pressure, especially a high performer, and I happen to know that you were a very high performer, high achiever, did you ever feel like there was more that you put pressure on yourself, or more that you got pressure from the actual company or companies, because you've had multiple companies that you worked for, right? That was the bigger focus of putting pressure on you?
Definitely. Yes, I believe and it's still the case, I'm still my worst enemy in that case. The one that is putting the more pressure on myself is myself. That's for sure. That's for sure. It's even if of course, you have management, you have like objectives and very high objectives, even more in software industry, because every year we want the double-digit growth, etc. So it's
multiple double digit.
Exactly. So it's getting like of course, a lot of pressure, but at the end, it's more the pressure we put on ourselves that is the highest. Yeah, because I believe also that you can, unfortunately, you are fearing, of course, always to deceive others. But if you are deceiving yourself, it's even worse, So maybe that's why we are so demanding and to always go higher. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is one of the things that it comes up a lot. I appreciate you sharing that, because it's one of those things that we don't verbalize enough, and it's something that's very, very real. I mean, I know I speak to clients about this type of thing all the time, but so I was there. You've been there. We're not alone. So, and as you're running on the treadmill, or you're watching us on whatever video channel, you're not alone. We've been there. We can understand you. So, there's also this other aspect of your life, right? You have, if the research we've done is correct, you've lived in 4 different countries. You've learned multiple languages, and you talk about really having a focus across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. What do you believe that is that drives you to want to work and have lived in different countries, different cultures, and also how that impacts the way that you lead?
So that's a good question. I believe I was really lucky to grow up in a family that was really open as well to different culture. It's not that we were traveling a lot when I was young to different countries, but we were receiving a lot of people at home that were coming from all parts of the world. My mother was quite a pioneer in terms of travel. She did crazy travel in her youth, really. She was, for example, crossing Afghanistan and Iran, and she was very young when she went to the US and Mexico and India, etc. So I believe that she's also the one that gave me a bit this taste of the world and of feeling a citizen of the world at the end. And maybe that's why I love living in all these different countries. And one of my big highlights of my career and the corporate world is to have been able to work with people from all over the place. And as I was leading teams for EMEA, it's 89 countries in total, Europe,
Wow.
Middle East, and Africa region.
Mm.
And that's a lot. Of course, you're not taking all the country, don't have like the same maturity or in terms of business, but still that's a huge amount. And when during one day you talk to a founder in Kenya, and then you talk to a founder in Stockholm, and another one in Paris, another one in Madrid or Lisboa or Cairo, that's amazing, because at the end you feel that there is things that are universal, that really we are sharing the same concern or the same challenges, or we like want the same vision, even for the work, that is quite common at the end. And then there is a business culture, how do you interact? What do you say? What you don't? I remember this conversation more with, it sounds a bit like typical, but it's true. When you talk to to Nordics, it will go straight to the point. You don't have chit chat of what did you do this weekend or stuff like that. While if you are talking, with other culture, maybe Southern Europe, Middle East and Africa, of course, you have this notion that you are creating maybe a personal relationship before you really talk about business, So that was super interesting. And I was very lucky to build a team where we were over 45 people. And among these 45 people, I had 14 different nationalities, and of young talents, and it was amazing to see them working together, bringing, because I strongly believe as well that the magic is happening from people coming from different backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, different academic backgrounds. And that's, yes, making something very rich and beautiful. And for me, that was always also my happy moments, in corporation, when I felt that,
Yeah. And so when you think about just the magnitude of 89 countries, or you think about 45 people, 14 nationalities, I mean, that in itself gives you an opportunity just to have a very unique approach as it relates to leadership. Now, if we have time, I will go back to that. But you also talked about, like, you did something that was very unique, and I just want to give more detail for our Going Long family. But you basically invested 4 years of your corporate career in a space. I think it's 4 years, more or less 4 years, in a space that very few people knew in the enterprise software space, in the industry, right, in the company that you work for. But you had a personal driver to focusing on scale-ups in a business that didn't necessarily focus on scale-ups. So what was it that really, and you've sort of painted some of the picture, but what was it that gave you the driver to really want to focus on a space that not a lot of people were focused on?
I believe, that was like, for me, it was a kind of no-brainer, when you're looking at today's world, the companies that are bringing the solution to the biggest challenge we are having are hyper-growth company, innovative companies, the startup ecosystem, scale-ups, like startup becoming scale-ups, and hopefully more. They are really the ones that are shaping the future, So, and it's true that there was no focus on this market, because this market has different needs, because they are growing fast, because they have different challenges. Let's say that what a normal company is doing in months, they are doing it in weeks or even days, So you need to be able as well to see how you can support these kind of companies. And for me, when we were welcoming a new client, because we really were thinking about the customer value journey, from prospect to ambassador, to think about this client and what was their specific needs. And feeling that talking to these brilliant founders, that have this passion that made from an idea something incredible. Yeah. And you feel that you are a little part of it, or you try to support the way as much as you can. That's really impactful. That was really meaningful. So for me, it was a no-brainer, but it's true that it was not always easy to communicate that, because it was more about incubating the future business than short-term vision or short-term business. So, yeah.
So it's really about taking the long-term view. What for you is and seemed very natural. Many around you were probably thinking, "Wow, how are you focusing on these?" Because most people were working on very traditional businesses that had already been maybe using a certain type of software for process and things like that. But for you had an additional 4.5 years of real life hands-on experience of working firsthand with these startup to scale up type of founders, which I think is, it's something that is amazing. And so now, and then I mentioned before, was there anything else that you wanted to add? Sorry, I felt like you.
No.
Okay.
That's exactly what you said. It's true that, beyond the numbers, which are important, of course, in the corporate world, looking, as you said, at the midterm, long term, what we can achieve. And then always super convinced about the fact that if you have, let's say, happy employees that are really enjoying what they are doing, that you are giving them space, to innovate, you are empowering them with space for innovation, then it makes happy client, and then the results is coming, So that's also the collective intelligence has always been something very important for me.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you sharing that as well. And, when you are in this type of a space and you've carved this space out during your corporate career, you've now decided to continue to focus in one of the areas, right, that in this space of really helping startup founders across EMEA. What do you like? How do you go about being able to identify where, let's say that the key problems either are or are going to be as you are helping these startup founders solve these problems?
Sorry, I apologize. So I believe first it's really to listen, to the startup founders themselves. What is their vision? What they want to achieve. I really love, of course, to always understand, from the very early days, how these ideas became something and where do they want to bring this idea further. Because of course they are the ones that know the best, their market and what they want to achieve. Then it's always interesting for founders to, and I really felt that, in that ecosystem. That's why I love it. There is let's say, of course, there is always competition between startups, but I find it that for them, competition is really what is thriving, like the ecosystem. For example, in Spain, if we have very successful startups, it's going to bring new investors and it's going to benefit all the ecosystem. Okay. So I feel that these founders, even if they know very well this market, they are always very open to learn more, and there is a lot of sharing with this ecosystem. That's really helping. So I believe that's why working with startup founders, it's something possible because first they are asking for that, they are asking for these new perspectives. And then for me, it's based on my experience, what I have been seeing in all these different countries, talking to so many different founders, observing a lot of startups growing, what making them successful, how they were scaling. I believe that from this observation, from the experience I got, it's what I let's say can bring as a perspective. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic. And it all starts with listening first, which I know that the Going Long family can appreciate, and then having the continued follow-up. So you shared a bunch of different different things for us to think about. And you talk about how you're, leveraging your own innate abilities to be curious and to ask questions and to listen first and to be able to do that within an environment that maybe many wouldn't. And so we've heard a lot of the things that are really, really have been very positive, but I always know that there's probably one or two things that we should also know that maybe are a little bit of a challenge. And I'm just curious, as you are making as you've made the decision, you talked about you made the decision, you took the calculated risk, if you will, and to move into a new space. And so I'm just curious also to share with the Go Along family the process that you went through to also know that like you get to a point you know what it takes to really back yourself, because at the end of the day that's what that's about. So can you talk to us about what it takes to really back yourself?
Yeah, it's not easy. Huh? It's of course when you come from against the corporate world, where even if, as I told you, I did entrepreneurship, but every month I still had my salary that was coming.
Mm-hmm.
So when I ended my let's say with my former company, I really needed to take a break. So that was, I believe, really necessary for me not to jump immediately from something, you know.
Yeah.
But I went on 2 weeks traveling in Southeast India, in India and Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really great. Also spending high quality time with my family.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I did, really.
Yeah.
Because that's maybe something I was suffering the most when I was in the corporate world, is to control my time, you know, and what I wanted to do with my time. So I came back, recharged, full of energy. And then right now, I'm just exploring, you know, what is coming. I'm very excited about that. And I'm working on different, projects. I'm also networking a lot, being a lot of events, shaking a lot of hands, having great conversation. And again, at the end, it's a small word. And as it's a word that wants everyone to thrive, it's that kind of easy, you know, to enter this word and to have really nice conversation that can lead you to something very positive. And like little by little, building something more maybe systematic and more solid. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking us through that process. Also, what I really also want the Go Along family to listen to is, yes. So earlier on, Marie, you talked about the financial aspect, and you've also been very transparent with us just in the last couple of minutes to share both. Being able to have and invest quality time with your family was one of the first things that you actually did. So being able to recognize the importance of being able to do that, and also being able to have more control over your time. So those are different items that we don't necessarily think about when we're in the quote unquote, and I'm using air quotes if you're watching us on video, in the corporate busyness, but it's just part of what happens, especially when you're a high achiever. So I talked at the beginning of the podcast as well, and I would really love for you to share a little bit more, because you just talked about your networking and you're out shaking hands, and you have a number of different areas where you're focused. So can you talk to us about how you're helping other individuals as well as companies? We talked about your EMEA startup advisor, also Hanai, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. And if not, please feel free to correct me. That we're here with the Go Along family, so it's okay. And also to what you are doing with Hervest Club.
Yeah. So that would be my great pleasure. So as I told you, you know, like this next chapter is kind of, you know, intentional. And now I wanted this next chapter to be a purposeful reinvention. Okay. So that's why I'm working mainly on 3 different aspects. So one I'm especially excited is anae. So anae meaning flower in Japanese. And anae is a sustainable neurocosmetics brand that I'm co-leading with Lourdes, who is a great friend of mine, an amazing woman. And also she's at the origin, you know, of the idea and of the product. And what is anae? It's really designed, you know, to offer women a real pause, sensorial ritual that helps reduce mental load, reconnect with themselves, and support both physical and emotional well-being. So for me, it's anae, it's really a beautiful way to combine innovation, purpose, and care, and with a specific maybe focus on women as well. So it's it's a really nice one. I have here like some example,
So everybody check out the video version, because if you're just listening, you have to see the video version.
Nice products. I have it's
Those look
everything
wonderful.
is sustainable, like toxic-free product, locally made in Spain, even in Catalonia. So, and all the packaging is sustainable. We have also the furoshiki, which is a way of wrapping, coming from Japan. So it's really a lot of care, a lot of love, that we are putting in this brand. And also because we definitely, believe that neurocosmetic is really helpful to reduce, the cortisol, like all the stress, because it's a connection between the skin and the brain. So that's super interesting. I'm learning a lot, by doing that, and I love it. Then the second project you mentioned was about Harvest. So, and Harvest is kind of linked, with Hannah, like with the vision about well-being, about also taking care of the woman. So, one of my best decisions in 2025, when I was, when this little voice was getting like super, super loud, was to join her Harvest Club, which is 100% female business angel club, of Francophone women. And the French-speaking women, sorry. And the objective is to invest in European early-stage impact startups. So focusing as well on the human well-being. So it can be from health tech, from physical and mental health, to social and environmental impact. So, and being part of this club is super refreshing. It's very intellectually very challenging, and to be surrounded by such like a brilliant, like women. They are all in senior roles. They are also entrepreneurs themselves, or in the corporate world at the very high responsibilities. So it's really great, and you can feel also the sorority, of being together and having this vision of of doing something great to have a positive impact, So that's also really great. And I really enjoyed, and Alison Blanco, who is the founder, really managed to do something amazing by gathering, all these women within Harvest. So that's a really great project. I'm very proud of that one, of being part of that club. And then the last one is, it's taking like the experience I had around building teams from scratch, and building high performing teams from different nationality at the international level. Also supporting building ecosystem to help organization to identify, to expand into new markets and scale innovation. So that's also what I have been doing in the past, and something that I want to bring to startups. So here it's more my focus on the startup advisory.
Well, and that's fantastic. And so, especially as we talk about the last portion in terms of advising startup founders, is exactly what you said. It sounds like it's an extension of something that you had already been doing previously for about 4.5 years within corporate, talking about the ecosystem and continuing to help, in a very similar type of environment, in a new way, making a direct advisory. So we're going to let everybody know how we can find out more about you and how we can be in touch with you very, very soon. But I do have one last question for you, Marie. One of the things that I recently, a couple years past, realized that when things are going really well, we tend to not think about them because things are going really, really well. But when things are not going according to plan, we tend to stay focused on the reasons that they're not going according to plan. And it can be very, very, difficult sometimes to break out of that low point. But I want you to think about what it is that you would say to yourself, because I'm sure everything has not always gone according to plan for you. But when you know that there's something that you need to say to yourself, you need to give yourself a moment. Let's say if you're looking back, we're going to move forward 3 years from now, and you're looking back and there have been these really, really challenging moments. What is the one thing that you know that you need to tell yourself during the challenging moments that are going to help you go from the bottom to get back towards the top? What's the one thing that you share that you will say to yourself that you want to share with us?
I believe, well, first, the first thing is always keeping the smile, like trying always to keep that positive energy, because there is always tough moments, but through these tough moments, you can turn them into opportunity, I believe, if you keep reminding a growth mindset. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. There is moments that are, like, as you say, are low, but having this kind of trying to keep, that discipline, let's say, to keep smiling, when the journey is hard, if you smile, it's much more enjoyable, still. And you feel less alone, because when you smile, it's something that you bring to others, and you feel less isolated maybe in what is happening to you. So maybe that would be my advice, because if you start feeling down yourself and you start losing confidence, etc., it's all a cycle. While the contrary will bring you only positive things. The virtuous cycle. I believe on that one, and on growth mindset behind any kind of let's say low moment.
Low moments. All right. So keeping the positive energy, keeping the smile, and create the cycle that reinforces that positive energy, that positive vibe. So I can't thank you enough, Marie, for joining me. I cannot believe the time flies by. Like every single one of these conversations, I'm like, no, I can't even believe it. We just started. And it seems like a second ago, you're already talking to us about your entrepreneurial mindset, and you're realizing that you like to do things differently, and you really, and from a leadership perspective. And it's one of the things that we didn't really get to, but like the bienveillance that you are like very, very well known for. But being able to say, how can you create a common vision? And also one of the things that you showed during your corporate career is that you could help to build consensus around a common goal, and really being able to take, when the opportunity presented itself, you were able to take the calculated risk that made the most sense for you. It was the one that helped to keep that voice that was getting louder and louder and louder. You were able to now say, okay, listen, I'm going to listen to this voice. I'm going to talk to this with my family, and also make the calculated risk, as you called. And when you did that, you were able to invest that time, those 2 weeks that you wanted to be able to have with your family, to be away, to get away and just have time for yourself, and recognizing, yes, money is important. And at the same time, it's not the only thing, because there is investing time with family and being able to take care of your health and listen to those voices that can get louder. You also talked about this unique opportunity to be able to see in a space that many others don't, how you can help to identify and help others solve problems in growth markets that are continuing to expand. You talked about the fact that you've been able to lead people and manage businesses across 89 different countries with a team of 45 people, 14 different nationalities as one, and all while being able to have a focus on helping others to grow. And specifically with that, as we talked about before, being able to continue to help the young talent of tomorrow and the female young talent of tomorrow, and also being able to create economic value as well as positive energetic value. And I know that so many people, Marie, from the Going Long family are like, yeah, Billy, but just ask her the question. So I'm going to ask you the question. How can the Going Long family find out more about you, how we can get in touch with you to find out how you're helping with EMEA startup advisors, how with your co-founding of Hanai, as well as Harvest Club? What's the best way for us to get in touch with you?
I mean, well, LinkedIn for sure. That LinkedIn will be one, and then I will drop you the website of Hanai, because it's really worth it. Only to go on this website, you will feel calmer already. So go to it, and then I will also tell you about Harvest, because I believe it's a business angel club that's really have huge potential in the future. Yeah.
All right. Well, fantastic. Well, listen, Marie, on behalf of the entire Going Long family, I want to say very much thank you from the bottom of my heart for deciding to invest your time with me, share a bit of your story. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you so much again.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you. And then Going Long family, listen, I'll be here preparing for the next episode. Thank you very much for deciding to invest your time with me and Marie. So go out and make it a great day. And thank you very much.